since Ian Grillot intervened in a shooting in February that left one Indian immigrant dead and another one wounded. Indian immigrants have rallied to help him in return. Mr. Grillot, a 24-year-old from Olathe, Kansas, ran at a gunman at Austin's Bar and Grill on February 22, thinking the attacker had run out of bullets and hoping to stop him from fleeing. But he had miscalculated and was shot through the hand and chest. His confrontation with the gunman has been widely praised in India, where officials have extended an invitation to visit the country. It has also been appreciated by Indian immigrants in the United States. On Saturday, India House Houston, a non-profit organization, presented Mr. Grillot with $100,000, which it had raised to help him buy a home. "This is the real America, not the America that's generally portrayed," Jitan Agarwal, the organizer of the group's annual gala, said on Monday of Mr. Grillot's actions during the attack. Mr. Grillot wore a cast on his hand as he accepted a check, and he said he couldn't have lived with myself if I wouldn't have stopped or attempted to stop the shooter. "I do now have a very powerful message, and if I can help empower people and spread hope and love, then why not?" he said, according to a statement from India House Houston. Local and federal authorities are investigating the attack in Olathe, just outside Kansas City, as a possible hate crime, at a time of increasing anxieties about white nationalism. Witnesses said the gunman, who was white, shouted ethnic slurs at the men and told them they did not belong in the United States before leaving the restaurant and returning a short time later with a gun. The suspect in the shootings, Adam W. Purinton, 51, was charged with premeditated first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted premeditated first-degree murder. Srinivas Kachapatla, 32, was killed in the attack, and Alok Madasani, 32, was wounded. The 2 men were engineers for Garmin, a GPS navigation and communications device company. In an interview with the New York Times shortly after the attack, Mr. Madasani said Mr. Purinton had asked them about their immigration status before he shot them. Mr. Kachapatla and Mr. Madasani were both educated in the United States and lived in the country legally. "We didn't react," Mr. Madasani said. "People do stupid things all the time. This guy took it to the next level." Mr. Grillot was released from a hospital on March 1. A fundraising page set up by his family saw $300,000 to help with medical bills. It had collected $473,300 before it stopped accepting donations. He has said he hopes to take India up on the officials' offer to host him. "It's the one place I always found very interesting growing up as a kid, the heritage and the culture," he told the Hindustan Times, which labeled him a hero. "I've always wanted to take a journey there. I think I've found myself a good reason to go there now. So I definitely have to be making a trip there sometime in the near future." Story 2. They went to Manchester Arena as homeless men. They left as heroes. A 33-year-old homeless man who came to the aid of the wounded after the Manchester bombing. For Chris Parker, the arena's entrance area might have seemed like a good place to ask people for money. Stephen Jones had found a spot nearby to sleep. Now, the 2 men, both homeless, are being praised as heroes for helping victims of the Manchester Arena bombing. As Manchester and the rest of Britain were trying to come to terms with the country's deadliest terrorist attack in more than a decade, the 2 men are being hailed on social media for their selflessness and courage. Mr. Parker, 33, was panhandling when the bomb exploded, according to local news reports. The force of the blast knocked him to the floor, but he was unfazed. Rather than running for safety, he went to the aid of victims, comforting a girl who had lost her legs, wrapping her in a t-shirt, and cradling a dying woman in his arms. Mr. Jones, 35, says he pulled nails out of children's arms and faces. "Just because I am homeless doesn't mean I haven't got a heart, or I'm not human still," he told ITV News. "I'd like to think someone would come and help me if I needed the help," he said, adding that he had been overcome by an instinct to pitch in. It was children, he continued. It was a lot of children with blood all over them, and crying and screaming. Mr. Parker told the news agency Press Association that amid the smoke and the shrieks after the explosion, he saw a little girl. I wrapped her in one of the merchandise t-shirts, and I said, "Where is your mom and daddy?" She said, "My dad is at work, my mom is up there," he was quoted as saying. He also said he had tried to help an older woman who had head and leg injuries, but that she died in his arms. She was in her 60s, and she had been with her family. "I haven't stopped crying," he told the Press Association. The most shocking part of it is that it was a kids' concert. After his actions became known, an online fundraising page was set up for Mr. Parker. By early afternoon on Wednesday it had raised £30,000, or almost $40,000. Another fund, for Mr. Jones, was listed on the Just Giving site. The tragedy may have also helped to heal a family rift. After hearing about what Mr. Parker had done, his mother reached out. "This is my son, and I am desperate to get in touch with him," she wrote on the fundraising page. "We have been estranged for a very long time, and I had no idea he was homeless. I am very proud of him, and I think he might need me right now." Correction, May 24, 2017. An earlier version of this article omitted the name of Stephen Jones, who assisted victims of the attack, and by so doing misattributed several quotations. It was Mr. Jones, not Mr. Parker, who talked about being overcome by an instinct to help.